Welcome back to Makeup Basics 101. We just did brows and now we're going to move on to color correcting. This is going to be a fairly short video because A, I don't really have that much to correct, and B, most people don't have that much to correct, so there isn't very much that goes into this. I am going to sort of give a brief description of what color correcting is. Color correcting is using the color wheel to correct certain tones on your face to make your foundation, etc. look more flawless, look more even toned. So there are people who have hyperpigmentation, such as myself. There are people who have redness. There are people who have sort of a yellowness in their skin that tends to show out, and it's a lot easier to give yourself a flawless face when you don't have to put on so much makeup to conceal those things. So here's an example of the color wheel here. Now you'll notice that on this color wheel there are colors that are opposite to each other. Now when you tend to have, excuse my nails, when you have hyperpigmentation, and I'll give you an example here. I have dark circles around my eyes. If you see at the edges of my mouth, I have a little bit of darkness around there. And then from some acne scarring, you'll see here I've got some dark spots. When you've got hyperpigmentation, usually this is something that women of color have, but people of all colors have that. People of all colors have some dark circles around their eyes. I've seen women of other races with a lot of dark circles around their eyes too, and you know, they need to combat that as well. But I know for us brown girls, we tend to need the orange color, and if you look on the color wheel, our hyperpigmentation is technically on the color wheel, it's blue. So to combat that blue color, and I'm talking about the blue that says blue and the one under it that's like almost to purple, you'll need that orange across from the blue to correct that hyperpigmentation. Now, if you have red spots, I think the only example of a red spot I would have, and unfortunately I don't have the corrector for this today because I usually don't get red. Sorry you guys, it's my cat. Usually I don't get red spots, but maybe you can see a little bit here. I had just gotten a pimple there, unfortunately, and it went away and it's a little bit red. It left a little bit of a red spot. Gustavo, please. So if you maybe you're breaking out and you've got a lot of redness around an area in which you have a pimple, or you've just got a lot of redness around your skin in general. I notice with lighter women, it tends to be around their nose right here. You are going to want to use that green color. Okay, so you're going to want to use those two green colors to combat that. People who have yellow in their skin, who have a yellow look, or I don't know, a lot of yellowing in their cheeks or their foreheads, are going to want to use the purple corrector. So any of those two purple correctors. When you see makeup color correctors, they are, you'll see the purple, the orange, and the green mostly, and then you'll see variations of that. So you'll also see the peach, which is like if you're probably of a lighter skin tone and you don't need so dark of an orange, because orange is honestly for like really dark pigmentation. Most people don't need as bright of an orange, but that's honestly what's widely available, so it's kind of easy to use if you use a small amount. But most people you'll see using the peach if they're of a lighter complexion, if they want to get rid of dark circles. I've seen a few people using reds. I don't think that's really necessary, just because I mean, unless you really have some like really dark spots, and I'm talking like you can see it very visibly on your face, it's nothing even close to this, then maybe you'll need that. But honestly, I think that's something that orange can fix too, and a full coverage foundation. So let's get into it. Alright, let's get into it. This is a close-up of my face. I'm sure you can find the areas of hyperpigmentation here if I give you a quick turnaround. I like to focus on the outsides of my mouth and around my eyes. And sometimes I'll give a little bit of my acne scars some attention too. So what I do use is the LA Girl Pro Concealer in the color orange. I did mention before that although orange is kind of harsh, excuse me for making all this noise. Although orange is kind of harsh, there's no need to use so much of it. I have used other correctors other than the LA Girl Pro Concealer before, but this is everyone's favorite because A, it's cheap, it's like $5 or something, and B, it's more of like a liquid type, which usually they come in creams. This was the, what I had before this was the Makeup Forever. I know this looks super crazy. You see that that's gone. You see the one in my usual concealer palette is gone, that orange right here. This one's kind of harsh because it's more of like a thicker paste, and I like this one because you can spread it easily. So what I do is I'll squeeze it out, squeeze, 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 and I'll stick a little bit under my eye. Oh, not on my eyelash. Now that got there though. I'll stick a little bit under my eye, tiny bit above my eye. I think it's always better to start with less than more. Sorry you guys, Gustavo the cat is distracting me. See how he got in, he wants to go out, he wants to stay in. Cats, you can never win. It's important that when you're working with your the skin around your eye that you use your ring finger, because it's the least strong of your fingers, if that makes sense. So you're going to be very gentle when you use it to spread this out. Now notice that I'm not just dragging the concealer with my finger, I'm patting it in. And you'll see, like, you can almost see instantly how it's kind of covered up some of that pigmentation on my eye. You know, I have a little scar up here, and sometimes that shows through. Some people don't color correct their lids, but because I find that my eyelids are dark, I do it on my lids too, because it tends to look a different color than what I expect if I don't. So you can see that, well, I already put some concealer here, but where you don't see the orange concealer, you can see that there's a big difference between the two. And you saw how little product I used. Sometimes I see people dragging it all the way down here. If your dark circles don't go down there, there's really no need to put it down there. You only want to put this where there's a need for it to correct. If there's no need for the corrector to do anything at the point at which you're putting it, then it's going to create an orange cast to your face, because it's not combating anything. It's just orange sitting on your face in terms of this corrector, and that goes for any of the correctors. You want to put it where it should be targeting something. So I'm going to go in with my ring finger again. I just use the same finger because A, I'm right-handed, and I don't know if you saw my last video. I was challenging one of my friends to do this left-handed makeup tag with me. Or, you know what, you guys can do it too. If you're left-handed, use your right hand. If you're right-handed, use your left hand. Now, sometimes I do squeeze too much. When I notice that's happening as I'm blending it in, I'll just go and start putting it around my mouth, etc., so that I don't have too much in one place. So, like I said again, we're going to squeeze out. I really just squeeze a little bit. There you go. You can see, like, the tiny amount I squeezed out here. So small. A little bit right there. A little bit right there. I use the ring finger just because at this point it's the only one that already has orange on it. And I'll tap that in. Sometimes people have like a little bit, it's like I'll get like a pimple or two up there. This is like, I really never go up here with it. You know, what the hell. We're looking for dark pigmentation. So right now, I do not have something to combat the red, but around where I had this mark before, it is darker, so I am going to go over that one a little bit. And honestly, these like, there's some that are, although they're small, they're dark and they tend to show up in my foundation. You see, I dotted it, and I'm just going to very lightly blend it out a little bit, taking care not to really move it in the places that don't need this corrector. Like I said before, you want to put it only where it needs to be. This is all like when I'm just really trying to make like a super seamless look. Either way, you can see that it's orange, but you can also see that it's taken away a lot of that discoloration that I had before. So this is how we color correct. I am going to save how you see that I colored this corrector, or how I color this corrector, how I cover this corrector with my foundation in the next part of this series. So stay tuned. Let me zoom out for you here. Stay tuned for the next part of the Makeup Basics 101, where we're going to be putting on our foundation.